Welcome to the TMYK show. I am your host, Mike, better known as Mo. Here's where you get the truth uncut. Today we're going to watch Jake Tapper of the Communist News Network, which is better known as CNN, and his interview with our Homeland Security Secretary, Kristi Noem. Kristi Noem is a very qualified individual who sits in that position of being Secretary of Homeland Security. We're going to watch this interview and watch how this creep, this less than a journalist, interview her. And we're going to be responding to some of his antics and how he almost all but berates her on national television. But as always, if you enjoy our content, please like, subscribe, and share. And I just wanted to point out before we get started, yes, I'm wearing my Bears gear. Yes, I am. Yes, I am a Chicago Bear fan, and we won our first playoff game, which was very, very exciting. And I'm excited. But enough of that already. Let's get into this.
Us is the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, former South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem. Thanks so much for being here. We really appreciate it. So it's been 4 days since this incident. The FBI is investigating the circumstances around the shooting. What new have investigators learned?
Well, I would say the FBI can give you the details of the investigation, but what we do know is that this was clearly a law enforcement action where the officer acted on his training and defended himself and his life and his fellow colleagues. It's a tragedy that this family has lost a loved one and that our country is dealing with the situation, but that's why we need our leaders to turn down their rhetoric. We need individuals and elected leaders in Minnesota to start partnering with us so that we can do law enforcement operations on the streets to protect the citizens that live there.
On the matter of partnering.
And I want to say this right quick, because people talk about Kristi and they talk about how she's not qualified, how none of Donald Trump's cabinet seems to be qualified. But let me tell you this about Kristi Noem. She has a degree in political science. She served 2 terms as a House of Representative. She served 2 terms as governor of South Dakota. So, are you telling me with those qualifications, with that experience, that it does not qualify her to deal with this department and oversee it, being the governor of a state? I want to know what does it take? She has a degree in political science. She understands Constitution. She understands laws. She understands the do's and the don'ts of what she's overseeing, and that is immigration law enforcing. That's what she does. Those are her qualifications. Anybody tells me that you need more qualifications than that, I got a bridge to sell them, because they are dumb as rocks. She have plenty of experience or qualifications, to be Homeland Security Secretary.
State and local officials in Minnesota are asking to be allowed to participate in the investigation into the shooting alongside the FBI. The Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension said in a statement that they've been denied access to evidence in the case. It is normal in investigations like these to be done with federal officials working in tandem with state and local officials. According to the governor of Minnesota, the mayor of Minneapolis, and the State Bureau of Criminal Apprehensions, DHS is not doing that. Why?
Look, we're following the same protocols that we've always followed in these situations. Nothing's changed. We do our investigations, and the federal government continues to do that with the Department of Justice. So
you don't work with locals?
We do work with locals when they work with us, but on the investigation piece of it, ICE and the Department of Homeland Security have a process and a protocol that we've always followed, and we're doing the same thing in this situation.
But what do you mean you work with them when they work with you?
As far as operations on the ground, we would love that. These sanctuary cities such as Minneapolis are extremely dangerous for American citizens. And Jake, since we've been there, we've arrested dozens and dozens of murderers and rapists, individuals who have assaulted children and sodomized them. We just released a whole list of individuals just in Minnesota that we've arrested since we've surged personnel there, and it's incredible. So we would love it.
Has CNN showed you any of that? No. Have they showed you any of that? Like she said, they just released it. But they won't show you that. Fox will, and many others will, but have CNN showed you that? Not at all. Why? Because they got an agenda.
Love it if the Minneapolis Police Force and the governor and the state police department would partner with us to help us do this work.
Well, what about partnering when it comes to the investigation? Because Minnesota and Minneapolis say they're being denied access to information, and this took place in their streets.
You know, the investigation's happening at the Department of Justice. I run the Department of Homeland Security, and I really will continue to follow the same process that this administration has in place, but also the same process that the last administration did. It's always been the same. Nothing's changed in this process, and we'll make sure that not only do our law enforcement have the opportunity to get the training they need, that they have the support and the backup on the streets that they need, but they also recognize that when a tragedy like this happens, that we'll do the right thing.
But officials are saying that the Trump administration, I understand that you're saying that it's the Department of Justice, not DHS. But officials are saying the Department of Justice is not working with them. Should they be working with the locals?
You know, I would say that these locals, if you look at what Governor Walz has said, if you look at what Mayor Fry has said, they've extremely politicized and inappropriately talked about this situation on the ground in their city. They've inflamed the public. They've encouraged the kind of destruction and violence that we've seen in Minneapolis the last several days, and I would encourage them to grow up, get some maturity, act like people who are responsible, who want people to be safe, and the right thing be done. When you use the kind of language that you use against law enforcement officers, they lose their credibility.
You've also been criticized for your comments. The shooting, we should note, was Wednesday at 10:37 a.m. Eastern. Just over 2 hours later, the Department of Homeland Security put out a statement definitively asserting what had happened, defending the ICE agent, accusing Renee Good of domestic terrorism. That's a characterization that you reiterated in a press conference half an hour later. Now, Republican Senator Tom Tillis said, quote, "It was very unusual to have a senior law enforcement official to draw a conclusion about an event where the scene was still being processed. Generally speaking, law enforcement would recognize that a life was lost, that families are changed forever, the shooter's life will change forever. We're collecting video. We're trying to assess the situation." Why did you not wait for an investigation before making your comments?
Oh, well, everything that I've said has been proven to be factual and the truth. This administration wants to operate in transparency. I have the responsibility as the Secretary of Homeland Security to know this information as soon as possible. Had just been in Minneapolis the day before, had already had conversations with officers on the ground and supervisors, and knew the facts, and decided that the department and the people of this country deserve to know the truth of the situation of what had unfolded in Minneapolis.
But with all due respect, Secretary, the first thing you said was, quote, "What happened was our ICE officers were out in an enforcement action. They got stuck in the snow."
Correct.
Because of the adverse weather that is in Minneapolis. They were attempting to push out their vehicle, and a woman attacked them and those surrounding them and attempted to run them over and ram them with her vehicle. That's not what happened. We all saw what happened.
It absolutely is what happened. Those officers had been out in enforcement action. A vehicle had been stuck. They had come to help get that vehicle out. That's when this individual started blocking traffic for minutes and minutes.
You said that the
before
woman
this
attacked them and surrounded them and attempted to run them over and ram them with her vehicle.
Blocked the road for a long time and was yelling at them and impeding a federal law enforcement investigation. And that's what you need to focus on, Jake, is they were breaking the law by impeding and obstructing a law enforcement operation. They were breaking the law already, And these officers were doing their due diligence and what their training had prepared them to do to make sure they were handling it appropriately.
You said within hours of her being killed, you said that she was a domestic terrorist. How do you define domestic terrorist?
She weaponized her vehicle to conduct an act of violence against a law enforcement officer and the public. As they are doing that,
how can you assert with certainty that she was trying to hurt the officer as opposed to she was trying to flee the scene?
if you look at what the definition of domestic
How do you try to flee a scene when an officer just told you, because of your antics, to get out of your vehicle? How are you fleeing? You are to follow the instructions of an officer. They are officers. You are impeding on their duties. You cannot impede on an officer. They were there. You all were heckling them. Yes, you surrounded them because one was in the car, the other one got out of the car, as you see in the video. They continue to blow smoke up your ass. This dude here is the worst. She's trying to flee. How do you flee? If the police told me to get out the car, I could just drive away? I could just drive away? If an officer come up to me because of my antics and tell me to get out the car, I can just drive away. Give me a break.
Of domestic terrorism is, it completely fits the situation on the ground. This individual, as you saw in the video that we released just 48 hours after this incident, showed that this officer was hit by her vehicle, she weaponized it, and he defended his life and those colleagues around him and the public.
The question is, I don't doubt, my position is, I wasn't there, I didn't see it. Some people say that it clearly showed that she was trying to hit him.
So why you got any fucking thing to say? Why don't you just interview her? You haven't saw all the video? You just need to be interviewing her. Who needs your damn opinion about this? That's the problem with you all on CNN and MSNBC. You want to throw your own opinion in there opposed to. And if you're going to have a conversation and have your opinion, let it be with a little humility. Not like what I think and what I know is just it.
Hit him and did. Some people say no, she was clearly trying to move her car and flee and get away. I don't know. What I'm saying is, how do you know? How can you assert for a fact within hours before any investigation, this is what happened?
The facts of the situation are that the vehicle was weaponized and it attacked the law enforcement officer. He defended himself and he defended those individuals around him. That is the definition. When there is something that is weaponized to use against the public and law enforcement, that is an act of domestic terrorism. It happened in our shores. It happened here in our country. You don't get to change the facts just because you don't like them. We will continue to look at this individual and what her motivations were. We know that there was, throughout that morning, she had harassed and impeded law enforcement operations. That raises the suspicion level with all of these law enforcement officers as far as paying attention to what her capacity is. And as you see on the videos, and they've proven out, that this law enforcement officer took the action that his training prepared him for, and he worked to make sure that he could save his own life and those around him.
How can you assert that there's no ambiguity in this before any investigation has taken place?
I had just been in Minneapolis and had been with those officers, had seen what they were facing on the streets every day, and had talked to their supervisors as soon as the incident happened and had gotten the facts and seen videos before I ever went to talk at that press conference. And the Trump administration and President Trump is the most transparent and open government that we've ever had. Give the public the information, give them what they need to know about a situation so they can have the truth as soon as possible.
So if this agents were perfectly fine, if everything he did was accurate, does that mean that other ICE agents should
He
look
wasn't
at what...
perfectly fine. He was injured. He went to the hospital.
No,
He
his
was
actions
treated.
were fine. I didn't say...
In fact, I think a lot of people and guests, and even you yourself, called this situation something very different and untruthful about what it was, as far as
what did
this
I say that was
individual-
untruthful?
That this was not a correct definition of what was happening on the ground. That this
I said that your description, they were attempting to push out their vehicle and a woman attacked them and those surrounding them and attempted to run them over and ram them with their vehicle, is not what we see on the videotape, and it's not.
It absolutely is the facts of what happened on the ground that day. They
No, it's-
were there pushing out a vehicle earlier. They had helped each other.
But that's not
do
what you
that.
said. That's not what you said.
Yes,
they were
that's
pushing out a
absolutely
vehicle.
what I said. There's not one.
We
thing
all
that-
seen the video. I don't need to relitigate it. We've all seen the video. She is blocking the street. They approach her.
You haven't seen the video of the entire morning and the previous encounters with this individual.
Oh, we have
Yes.
aired it. Yes, we have. On Thursday, we were airing and noting the fact that she was there for several minutes, for minutes and minutes and minutes. She was protesting without
And at
question.
previous locations.
She just told him, you didn't see the other video of the morning. He's telling you about basically seconds of what he saw. And he done came to a conclusion, but she got other tapes that they've looked at. Period. Let's continue.
Previous locations that morning, that absolutely, that these vehicles had been previously down the block on video that you haven't seen. There's more information.
But the
that
question-
this
the question
individual
is
was
not-
impeding law enforcement operations throughout the previous moments and hours before this incident
The question
happened.
is, what was she doing when she was moving her car?
The question
That's
is,
the question.
is why are we arguing with a president who's working to keep people safe? Why are we arguing with law enforcement operations that have gone on in this country for years, and we're working to collect murderers and rapists and drug traffickers and fraudsters off the streets of Minnesota, and we don't have local law enforcement and local elected officials that are partnering with us to help do that work? Overwhelmingly, the people in this country said they wanted America to be safe again, that they didn't want dangerous criminals on our streets. I would encourage the elected leaders in that city and in that state to work with us so that we can do our operations without the kind of opposition and people that are conducting and perpetuating the kind of violent rhetoric that we're seeing today.
DHS policy authorizes.
This is what you have in sanctuary cities, y'all. Minneapolis, Minnesota is a sanctuary city. I believe Minnesota may be a sanctuary state the way Tampon Tim acts is probably a sanctuary state. Where would your criminals go if they're on the run? They would go to these states that are sanctuary because these people, as you see, they fight to keep criminals on the streets. They'll say, when you detain them, if you catch them for any reason, keep them, we'll come and take them into custody. They let them out. You saw the woman, the judge, who's just been found guilty of aiding and abetting a illegal immigrant. She let him out the back door. She sent ICE on some type of wild goose chase, going to check other things while she was helping this illegal immigrant escape, who they were looking for, whom ICE was looking for, who had a warrant out for him to be caught and deported. But this is the things that these people are doing. And sanctuary states are not working with ICE. You don't hear this in New Orleans. They're in New Orleans. Like I told you, they're in every state. They're in every state. That's what they do.
Authorizes use of deadly force only, quote, when no reasonably effective, safe, and feasible alternative appears to exist. Could he not have just gotten out of the way?
This individual and this officer is a highly experienced law enforcement officer. He has years of training and specialized training for these types of situations. We're grateful that he's alive. It's a tragic situation, and we're going to continue to work on the investigation into the individual and find out what the motivations were behind her actions that day.
We're grateful that that he's alive too. I want to play this moment from the officer's cell phone video. This is number 7, folks.
Get out of the car. Whoa! Fucking bitch.
Is that Agent Ross's voice calling Renee Good a fucking bitch?
I can't determine which one it is, but it could be, sir.
In June of last year, Agent Ross had his arm pinned in the back window of a car as an undocumented immigrant who was a criminal drove away from a traffic stop. It dragged him about 100 yards. Here's what Vice President Vance said about the incident this week.
That very ICE officer nearly had his life ended, dragged by a car 6 months ago, 33 stitches in his leg. So you think maybe he's a little bit sensitive about somebody ramming him with an automobile?
If this is relevant, first of all, it's horrible that that happened. If it's relevant, which the Vice President seems to think it is, do you think this understandably very traumatic event that this officer went through last June might have influenced, as the Vice President is suggesting happened, how he responded?
Now, there's no indication to that, but the facts is that we've seen vehicles weaponized over 100 times in the last several months against our law enforcement officers. So they definitely know that the threat is real, that individuals who are trained by activists to go out and to impede their law enforcement operations will weaponize their vehicles and try to run them over and drag them and not stop. So they certainly go into these situations with that knowledge that that could happen, and that's what their training prepares them for.
What evidence are you looking at that so many other people around the country look at and they say, it looked to me, her tires were turned to the right, she was moving her car, and they see a woman trying to flee? You say she was trying to kill the...
No, they don't see, but that's what they do. He's telling you many say and many see. What is he talking about? And why is he talking about what other people saw? Why can't he talk about what he saw, what he believes, and he's talking to the head of Homeland Security, the head of ICE? Why shouldn't it be him and her discussion and what he saw? Because I saw it too. I didn't see what he saw. I saw something different. I saw a woman being defiant. I saw a woman taunting ICE officers, her and her wife, taunting ICE officers. I saw her asked to get out of the car, told to get out of the car. And that's when she backed up, lined up to that officer that was in front of the car or walking past the car. He was on his way over here. And by the way, he was on his way over there to assist. That's how he wound up in front of the car. He was walking over to assist. I'm sure that's what he was walking over for. And she backed up when she was told to get out the car and then went forward. She put it in reverse, then she put it in drive and took off. And that man was in front of her. Did we see her hit her brakes? Did we see her hit her brakes? When sure she looked up and saw him there. Did she hit her brakes? Oh, boy.
She was trying to kill the officer. No investigation has happened. Why are you so certain that your interpretation is the truth when an investigation hasn't even happened?
Jake, I'm watching the videos.
Other
I'm
people
talking
are
to
watching the
officers.
videos
I'm getting
and
the
coming
facts.
to a different conclusion.
Everything that we've stated as the Department of Homeland Security and this administration has been factual.
Just
and I
a
wish we
liar.
would talk factually about what we see every day from these protesters, what they do, what they say, how they chant over and over, kill ICE, attack law enforcement, how they're trained to perpetuate violence against them and to stop the work that they do every day. Each of these law enforcement officers takes an oath to protect this country and uphold the law. They go out every day and enforce the laws of this country to keep people safe. So these individuals that are out there harassing them while they do that work, doxing their identities, threatening them and their families, it's unacceptable. And that's why President Trump is so strong in supporting their operations in all of these cities.
The officer...
And so you'll understand doxing. What they do, the reason that they cover their faces, they identify these people and they put their public information, where they live at, where their people, where their family work at, their children go to school at. They do these things. That's why they have their faces covered. Because they dox them. They put out all of their information and cause havoc on their families, which is wrong. When we, as the United States of America, we have the Department of Homeland Security to deal with illegal immigrations. This is what Biden and Kamala Harris allowed to happen to our country, and we are here now. They are here now under the leadership of Donald J. Trump to clean up the mess that they have created, and this is the pushback that we as America is getting. And it's not just Donald Trump, it's us as America, people. They want these people to stay among us. Why would you want murderers, rapists, child molesters? Why would you want these people to stay among us and not work with ICE to get rid of them? And not just them, anybody who's here illegally, especially that has come in this country in the past 5 years, period.
Appeared to have fired 3 shots, the first one through the front windshield, the second and third through the side window. What is the justification for the second and third, given that the officer was out of harm's way?
You're watching the same videos that I am, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're watching the same ones. So you see how quickly the situation unfolded, how the officer was in front of the vehicle when she sped off, how she ran into him, and how he had to take quick action based on his training to defend himself and his colleagues around him.
Once he's out of harm's way.
That's very clear and factual from the videos that you can see. It's nobody's interpretation. We don't get to change it because we can see it with our eyes and we can build on the evidence that we have on the ground.
Yeah, the question
we don't
is
because
why
the politics doesn't fit somebody and what they're trying to do to continue to defraud people in their city and in their state, continue to take advantage of individuals and to allow criminals.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's what Mayor Fry and that's what Mayor Governor Walz are doing every day by diverting the attention and trying to attack a law enforcement officer. They're allowing the criminals to go by without examination.
Are you saying that the second and third shots, because you just said it happened very quickly, are you saying the second and third shots?
I said watch the videos.
I'm
watch
asking.
how quickly this unfolded and know that law enforcement officers every day in this country are in difficult situations where they have to make split-second decisions to protect themselves, the public, and their colleagues, and that they have to rely on their training. That's exactly what this officer did. And I know that the left and I know the crazy activists in this country that are trying to undermine our way of life will attack and try to destroy a law enforcement officer.
I'm asking a question.
It's just unacceptable, and we're not going to let that happen.
I'm asking a question is, when he's out of harm's way, what is the reason for the second and third shot through the window when he is out? He's not in the line of sight of the car. This
investigation will continue to unfold, and more information will come forward. But until that comes, what I would appreciate is everybody sticking to the facts of the situation and recognize that this law enforcement officer took action based on his training to protect himself and the public.
I'm just waiting for the investigation to come through. I'm wondering if you're not doing a disservice to the officer by reaching a conclusion before the investigation takes place.
I haven't heard you say once what a disservice it's done for Mayor Fry to get up and to tell ICE to get the F out of his city, and AOC to stand up before she had any of the facts and call this officer a murderer. For individuals, well, call them out, Jake. Spend as much time calling them out.
Okay.
I have provided you with facts and information to back up every single word that we have said and every single part of this investigation. And if you don't like it, that's fine. But we're going to continue to do the right thing to keep the American people safe.
I know that you'd like to make me the topic of this and not what happened, but I did ask a Democratic senator just a few minutes ago about AOC's comments, and I don't actually even know what you're talking about when I ask questions as if like that's an assertion. It's a question. How can you make a conclusion before an investigation? And there really isn't an answer other than you saw the video. I want to ask a question about the rules of how law enforcement is allowed to engage when feeling threatened, per your assertions. Because I want to show some video to you right now and ask, what is the appropriate response for the police officers in this situation? Those are law enforcement officers being physically attacked. By this standard, would any of those officers be justified in shooting and killing the people causing them physical harm?
Every single situation is going to rely on the situation those officers are on. But they know that when people are putting hands on them, when they are using weapons against them, when they are physically harming them, that they have the authority to arrest those.
Let me share something with you about that he just showed. Did you realize that those weren't cameras that was like in the ceiling and different parts of the building? It was somebody filming this. It was somebody literally filming these things, putting these things together. Can you all see that? With all of that chaos going on, who was there filming? Who was there filming with all of that going on? Who was there to show you all of that? And wait a minute. And were they in back of the police? Some of the video shows they were in back of the police. Some of the footage. Wow. Bullshit. You're going to learn about January the 6th, too.
Arrest those individuals.
The president
make sure
pardoned
that they're
every single
facing
one of those people.
consequences and make sure that they're getting justice for their actions going forward.
President Trump pardoned every single one of those people.
And every single one of these investigations comes in the full context of the situation on the ground. And that's one thing that President Trump has been so focused on, is making sure that when we're out there, we don't pick and choose which situations are and which laws are enforced and which ones aren't. Every single one of them is being enforced under the Trump administration, and the clarity of the law stands. And if people don't like it, these members of Congress and elected officials should go change the law and make sure they have that debate and policy change.
I just showed you video of people attacking law enforcement officers. Undisputed proof, undisputed evidence. And I just said President Trump pardoned all of them. And you said that President Trump is enforcing all the laws equally.
All of the laws equally. I've said this before. Donald Trump pardoned every last one of them because there were people that was within that who were innocent bystanders, who Joe Biden cronies went, hunted them down, brought them before judges, rogue judges, and they prosecuted them, and they were doing time. And they shouldn't have been doing any time. And he could not go through and take time out. I believe it was over 1,000. He could not take time where innocent people had been in jail far too long. He could not take time out. Let's investigate each one of them. He had to do a blanket pardon in order to get the innocent ones out. And the ones who should have been in jail, they're not in jail, like your Epps. Can't think of his first name, but he didn't do a day. He did not do a day. How is that? And he was a corporate behind it. We're going to do something on that. How could he not do a day? But yet still, you have people in jail all the way up to Donald Trump got back in office, and this happened January 2021. You had people still in jail from 2021. Come on, people.
It's just not true. There's a different standard for law enforcement officials being attacked if they're being attacked by Trump supporters. We just saw that.
This individual and these instances and these investigations all have to be taken and done correctly in context of every situation that is happening on the ground. So what we are doing today as the Department of Homeland Security is out there with our law enforcement officers, making sure that we're targeting the worst of the worst and that we're talking factually about each situation and making sure that we're bringing those perpetuators of violence back to justice, bringing them to justice and making sure they face consequences for their crimes. We'd love to have the partnership of Mayor Fry. We'd love to have the partnership of the Chief of Police and of Governor Walz every day when we're out there to make sure they tone down the rhetoric and they do the right thing for the people of Minnesota.
All right, well, we'll ask Mayor Fry and the Chief of Police in just a couple moments. Thank you so much.
I really, really, really appreciate Secretary Noem going over there. That's how bold and that's how courageous the right is. The just people are. They'll go over there to enemy territory, true enemy territory, and bring truth to a lying group of people. A people that will make up stuff. I wouldn't have seen it and told you that all the paperwork from January 6th is not there anymore. They don't have that paperwork. They can't go and look at how they held these hearings, how they came to the conclusion that they did. They have no records of any of that stuff. But he could put that up there and say, well, should they have shot? If they felt their life was in danger, why not? It was a ploy. What happened to the National Guards? Why weren't the National Guards there? But you still want to deal with January the 6th, make Donald Trump look bad. Oh, if you're a Donald Trump supporter and you're attacking people, it's fine. Those were not Donald Trump supporters, period. Period. For January the 6th. And it's all going to come out. And the people that were arrested were innocent people that were Donald Trump supporters. Period. So, like I say, my hat's off to Christie. I really appreciate her going over into the lion's den, into enemy territory. But none of them will come on, guess what? None of them will really come on Fox News and be critiqued. They'd rather go over somewhere, CNN or MS Now, and spew their bullshit. And that's where everybody run to. But they will not come over and sit down and have a legitimate interview with any real journalist. Period. But again, if you like the content, if you enjoyed what I just shared, please like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, as always, love you and be kind one to another. Peace.